Smartphones can be very useful and practical. You can get your email, check appointments, take pictures, do all sorts of things with them. But over the past couple of years, smartphone use, especially by teenagers, has come in for a closer and often negative look. Are kids spending too much time scrolling through social media or other feeds and not developing real relationships with other peers through conversations and interactions? Are concerns about not getting enough likes or comments on what they post overwhelming other, more healthy ways of measuring self-esteem? With some schools starting to impose strict smartphone restrictions during the school day, we start part one of a two-part series of looking at what some of our local schools in northern Bennington County are doing. All the school leaders we spoke to told us they encourage their students to put away their phones, preferably somewhere that makes it hard to access them. Some schools have also gone to another level, taking phones away from the students during the day and locking them up, and returning them when the academic day is over. In part two, we have an extended conversation between two students at Burton Academy who are completing a survey and research project around smartphone use they launched earlier this year, and with Meg Kenny, the assistant head of school at BBA. We discuss their findings and thoughts, and Ms. Kenny explains Burton's current approach to smartphones. It's an in-depth conversation you won't want to miss. In this initial part, we started by talking with Dan Skoglund, the head of school at Maple Street School.
Andrew, simply put, the policy is that students do not utilize their cell phones or any type of electronic devices during the academic day. So really depending on its lower school or upper school, they're placed in their cubbies, their lockers, they're out of sight, out of mind. They can utilize them after the academic day. So post 3 o'clock, you're welcome to use them, but if you're walking around Maple Street School during the day, really 8 to 3 p.m., you don't see devices out. Students are not permitted to be on them. Obviously, if a family member needs to be in touch with someone, we have Krista Bowen, who serves as our kind of gatekeeper, so to speak, who's in charge of all communication and whereabouts of kids. She can be in touch with the student. But yeah, again, simply put, they're not out, can't be on them during the academic day. We want to eliminate distractions so they can just be a kid and focus on studies and healthy peer interactions.
Then we met up with Randy Lowe, the superintendent of the Bennington-Rutland Supervisory Union, or BRSU, to hear their approach.
We do not want students having cell phones in our schools. We operate a K-8 system, and our experience has been that cell phones are a significant distraction to students learning for a whole host of reasons. And in a K-8 system, we don't think smartwatches or cell phones need to be in our schools. So they are not allowed.
So how long has this policy been the basic operating rules that you've been working with?
So we rolled this out with Jackie Wilson, my predecessor, I think about 2018. The principals and Jackie sent a letter to all families with a very, very similar procedure, process, set of expectations. And that first year, we were pretty good with it. And then when the pandemic hit, as I said to families, I'm the first to acknowledge that during the pandemic and up until this year, we were much more lax and we weren't following the procedure and infractions as they were originally written. So this year in August, I sent a letter to families and said, we are going to be following this. Please take a look at what's in the family handbook. We are seeing significant impacts from cell phone use, social media use, social skill development, ability to problem solve, lower communication skills, and we want to remove this so that our students can be fully present to learn. And then we reiterated it in our family handbook, and as well as the responses if students are found to be using their phones in our classrooms, in our schools.
Then it was off to Arlington to talk with Arlington Memorial High School principal Sarah Pickering.
We have developed a procedure here at Arlington that we are in the middle of aligning more with the policy down at the SVSU. But in 2018, when I arrived here in Arlington, there was a lot of discussion among the educators and staff on the use of personal technology. And we decided that in 2018, we decided that we would put in place a personal technology procedure. The procedure was that students' personal devices, mainly cell phones and earpods, had to be put away during the day, from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Over the course of time, COVID and other things, as the procedure kind of took off, we got a little lenient with that, and students started to carry them on their person. Just this last fall, we revisited the procedure and are back to students may not have personal technology on their person from 8 in the morning till 3. Specifically, in our procedure, we list headphones, earbuds, and cell phones.
Now, when you say put away, does that mean in a backpack or in some place where they can't access it at all? Or?
Yeah, in a backpack. Cannot be on their person during the day.
Okay.
We have not tackled the watches yet. They don't seem to be as large of a distraction as the cell phones.
And finally, we met up with Colin Igo, the head of Longsborough School.
As a 6 through 12 school, we have different policies for middle school and upper school. Middle school students, 6th through 8th grade, when they arrive in the morning, if they have a phone, they go to advisory, they drop the phone with their advisor in that room, and it stays there all day. So for 6th grade through 8th grade students, they cannot have phones in school during the day. Starting in 9th grade, students can have their phone. They're not to use them in classes, and really if they're using them during the day, the guidance is to use them for academic purposes or to make a call, or if you have to reach out to someone. That's the current policy. And I know that we're thinking really carefully about what is the right policy beyond what we have currently. And I think part of why you're probably having these conversations is that as a community, as a country, we're really thinking a lot about cell phones, smartphones, social media, and how that's impacting young people in particular. And I think as evidence grows, it's concerning. Yeah, I think unfortunately, the evidence is now pretty overwhelming that in so many areas of young people's lives, the impact is negative, right? We were just talking before we started this about Jonathan Haidt's new book, The Anxious Generation, that we're actually going to have as a community read here at Long Trail. And the threads from cell phones, smartphones, and all the associated social media and apps are pretty thick and pervasive into all areas of young people's lives. So, of course, as a school, there's the academic performance and achievement, right? And there's a lot of studies that show cell phones actually directly can take away from one's academic performance, academic achievement. Of course, there's attention span. There's the ability to, engage fully in what you're doing and be able to hold attention beyond, short snippets. And those things are really important. And then there's also a lot with the social development that for young people in particular is so crucial, right? When, if we are a community, which we are, that says we ask you to engage, right? We're a really close-knit place. We ask you to lean into things, to look people in the eye, to be an engaged member of a community. Every time you go to that phone, you've disengaged with whatever's happening in your surroundings. So that can not only take away joy and human connection, it also can take away the opportunities to build resilience, right? To have some setbacks, to work through discomfort, to understand the humanity side of things. And to the extreme, it is manifesting in a generation of young people who are experiencing levels of anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation at levels never seen before. And my wife is a clinical psychologist, and so we have and being in a school, we have interesting views in the work that we do. And I can't say it's surprising to see all this research come about, but it's really important that we actually then take action to ensure that we're helping young people become fully realized, healthy human beings. And the cell phones aren't doing that.
In between, we also sat down with psychologist Bob Hemmer to get his views.
Well, of course, the answer is it's complicated. And the research so far is pretty weak statistically in determining this, but the research on the ground, the research with kids and parents and teachers, is that it's pretty difficult. The social media and the hype that goes around that have had some devastating effects. Certainly, the cyberbullying has been linked psychologically and now legally to deaths. So I think that there's a lot of very complicated things. On the other hand, in your hand, you now have more computing power than the Apollo capsule that landed on the moon. And that's pretty powerful, and there can be some good things that go along with it. But it is a very complicated question, and I think determining what is bad is where we have to go next. So I kind of do like this idea that when you come into school in the morning, you put your phone in a locked case. They have these little bags out now called Yonders, and then at the end of the day, you're released to have them. Now, should you have them on break? Should you have them in the cafeteria? I think that schools are there to promote interactivity, communication, development of thought processes. So I think that having a break is fine during the school day, and you can use it in your free time at home.
Our last stop was at Burn Academy for the conversation with Meg Kenny and the two students, Oakley Robbins and Ben Dossett, which we will present in full in another segment. Again, if this is a subject you're interested in, you won't want to miss this conversation. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.